Hey Megamaniacs, this is Mr. MegaManFan. I got a couple packages in the mail, one I was expecting and one I wasn't. So I'm going to start with this mystery one that's marked fragile, handle with care, and see what's inside here. We'll all discover at the exact same time. Perhaps I pre-ordered something and completely forgot about it. I try not to do that, but I'm human. Sometimes things happen. It's certainly well packed, whatever it is. Carefully, bubble wrapped and all. Oh, Sugar Sean O'Malley, just in time for St. Patrick's Day. Debuted on the Ultimate Fighter Season 26 finale, fighting out of Glendale, Arizona. Accomplishments: Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series UFC contract winner. So I'm going to assume this came from the National Bobblehead Figure Museum. Yep, might as well go ahead and open it up, get a better look at it. Some of you may know that I cover mixed martial arts for MMA Mania. Established 1993 on the octagon that he stands on, which is accurate. And the tattoos seem to also be representative of the fighter himself, and the bobble is bobbling as a bobblehead should. As always with these bobbleheads, there's a stamp on the bottom, contains small parts. It's not a toy, decorative use only. It'll balance. Let me try that out right now. It is doing a balancing act, even though it's still bobbling. There are some little things that I would do better. The paintwork on the trunks that he's wearing isn't exactly even. You can see the difference from one leg to the other. It looks like they rushed it a little bit. The lines on his trunks at the top are not perfectly even either. That might be nitpicking, but I always feel like details matter when you're producing something that people want as a collectible. So if an amiibo looked like that, I'd say the same thing. But it's a free sample, so obviously there's not too much to complain about here. Sean O'Malley is an interesting choice. I have to assume that's because St. Patrick's Day is coming up, so I can understand why. We can move on to this package that I was expecting. Some games from Japan. First, I need to take out this top sheet, which is the customs form. And then I can go ahead and slice and dice. Get all the peanuts out of the way. And we have a stack. I'll have to take this stack apart. Got some Bandai WonderSwan games that I picked up. I cannot read the kanji, so I will put in a caption what the title of this one is once I look at my order. But I wanted a couple of boxed WonderSwan games because I haven't gotten any WonderSwan games in at least a decade, so felt like it was time to get back into it a little bit. This one must be a bestseller of some kind because it's got a gold seal on the front. And I picked up a complete in-box copy of Rockman EXE2, or Mega Man Battle Network 2, if you will. That one really doesn't need any explanation. Let me take this labeling off, open up the box, and show you that it is CIB very carefully. The game and the manual. There we go. One complete set. Very nice. Very nice condition box as well. Not too much wear and tear on it. No rips. A few scuffs, but that's understandable / acceptable. I consider this to be very nice for the price. And it wasn't that expensive, just a few bucks. I think maybe $7 at the most. Okay, let me set that over here. Got some more imports. Got a Mega Drive game here. And a Famicom game here. And last but certainly not least, a complete inbox copy of Shining and the Darkness for the Mega Drive. I was surprised at how cheap this one was. It was only a few bucks, which is way cheaper than the North American version of it is. But I think this one was a big seller in Japan and not nearly as much so in the United States. So I'm happy to have a copy of it now, because I feel like if I play a patched version of it, that's entirely justifiable since I own a complete in-box copy of it. So there you go. The opening to Super Daisenryaku had me pretty excited. I was thinking, awesome, this is going to be a Top Gun style game. I'm going to take off from an aircraft carrier, I'm going to shoot down enemy fighters. This is going to be a blast. No, it is not that. What we're actually looking at is something more akin to Risk, where you have a map with hexagons on it, and each one is occupied by a certain type of combat force, either for you or your computer-controlled enemy. And if the terrain is right, you can move to that spot or not. I can't really discern the rules because it's all in Japanese here. So if this was an English version of Risk or a strategy turn-based war game, I could probably get a little further, but all I can really do is scroll around the map, look at the terrain, look at the tiles, decide that it has a very nice graphical style. It reminds me of Advance Wars on the Game Boy Advance a little bit, but without an intimate knowledge of these kanji characters, I'm not going to be able to progress in this game. But this loose cartridge was only $1, so it seemed worth the risk. But no risk at all picking up Shining in the Darkness, or as it's known in Japan and on my box, Shining and the Darkness, one of the first role-playing games for the Mega Drive / Genesis, and definitely worthy of covering on a future episode of Genesis Does. I'll read a little from the description here on Wikipedia. They call it a role-playing video game where the player controls the main character and two friends, Pyra and Milo, exploring 3D dungeon mazes with turn-based battles. The game consists of storyline interaction, dungeon exploration, random monster fights, and predetermined boss fights. Well, that just sounds like every role-playing game ever, doesn't it? It was directed by Kan Naito, produced by Hiroyuki Takahashi, written by said same, composed by Masahiko Yoshimura, and it's part of the Shining series, which went on for quite a few installments after this game. It's considered a classic by most accounts, ratings anywhere from 70% at the lowest to 93% at the highest, but it is even better in terms of its historical importance compared to those readings, because gaming historians call it a pioneer of the Japanese console role playing game. And one of the key innovations of the game was an icon based menu system, which may or may not have been inspired by the Phantasy Star game. And this is where the Shining series starts. So if you want to get yourself familiar, the writing's on the wall. Sorry for that pun. I couldn't resist. But yes, this is a great way to jump into RPGs. And you can tell that even with my limited knowledge of Japanese, I can still play this because it's like any other RPG I've ever played. So, not too hard to get through this one. But I will be using a patched version after this. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. As always, thank you for watching.